No, a couple of minutes.
No?
Couple of
Okay.
minutes.
All right.
We'll do it in another minute. That's what I hear.
More.
More.
Sorry for the little jacket.
Okay. Yes, that's fine. Okay, that's fine.
I can't. Jacket makes it.
Pledge allegiance.
Oh. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The notice requirement provided for in the Open Public Meetings Act has been satisfied. Notice of this meeting was properly given and was published in the Asbury Park Press on January 6, 2014, and Sewerage Times on January 10, 2014. This notice has been posted at the Township of Middletown Sewerage Authority Administration Building, the Township of Middletown Municipal Building, and filed with the Township Clerk.
Before we do a roll call, I have an announcement I'd like to make. Mr. DeMarco has sent in his letter of resignation. Unfortunately, he is not able to serve. He did a great job, and we'd like to thank him, even though he's not here, just so that everyone knows that he did a wonderful job, and we're sorry that he will not be continuing on the board.
Thank you.
So that's it.
You can resume with the roll call.
Mr. Rogers?
Here.
Mrs. Smith? Here. Mrs. Stokes?
Here.
Mr. Reed?
Yeah.
Mrs. Craig's not here.
Access.
Mrs. Bell?
Here.
There being a majority of board members present, formal action will be taken.
Thank you.
First item is the minutes of the regular meeting, December 16th.
Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Roll call.
Did you make the first and second?
Doesn't
Oh, it's Charlie, okay.
You can't do that. Mrs. Smith?
Yes.
Mr. Reed?
Yes.
Mrs. Bell?
Yes.
Okay, in consideration of a consent agenda, does anyone desire to discuss an individual item on any of these resolutions?
Does anyone have any questions, comments? Okay.
No.
Moving along,
Move for approval.
may I have a motion?
Yeah, move for approval.
Second.
Okay. We could just hold up a second.
You have a second on this?
Yes.
Yes, I did.
Charlie?
Mr. Rogers?
Yes.
Mrs. Smith? Yes. Mr. Reed?
Yes.
Mrs. Bell?
Yes.
Mr. Stokes?
Yes.
The engineer status report.
Okay, Perkins Place Support Services, we haven't had much involvement on that recently. I think they've raised it, handling the, well, most of the input on that. Detail drive, that permit was approved, as I indicated last meeting.
So is that it on detail?
Yes.
No more
There is-
DP, no more-
There is some monitoring that the authority's gonna have to do over the next 6 months, I think it was. There's a stipulation in there, just to make sure that there's no further erosion.
Okay, does any other additional report have to be?
No.
So
Oh,
unless
at
there's an
that time,
exception,
we have to report to them that what.
in 6 months, tell them.
Well, it's in the
everything's A-okay.
permit, so whatever the time frame is on it. Yeah, I don't know whether it was done on a 3-month basis or a 6-month basis, but
Okay.
the NCC generator cogen, we had a meeting with the engineering committee on that, and draft report, I still have not quite finished that. Expect to finish it shortly. Digestive gas cogen project is part of that. We discussed that also briefly at the engineering committee meeting, and it's an issue too with regard to that. We've now gotten email from the state on asking for an extension of time. They gave us, we can't make that request until February 1st, I think it is, right?
Correct.
And as you recall, this was originally done over a year ago to ask for the extension. They wouldn't let us do it then. In the fall, or a couple of months ago, Rich contacted them, sent them a letter. They indicated we couldn't do it then. And now they give this
So
limited window.
They've given us what they deem as an automatic 6-month extension, and we will follow up with that.
Area crossing project, that's design is just getting underway with regard to that one. We've got the survey that we've got to get done first. Main Street repair, that's on hold right now. Pump station emergency facilities evaluation and susceptibility. We get an updated report on that based upon the New Jersey, or the natural gas service issues, as well as the updated maps. So that's been submitted and that's finalized, so we're completed with those. Emery Drive Pump Station Force Main, there was a pre-con meeting just the other day, and the first thing that'll happen there is submittal of the shop drawings, review of the shop drawings, and obviously before the equipment is kind of jumped ahead there. I'll get back to the force main. But anyway, I would expect to see that the construction on the Emery Drive pump station would probably get started early spring, at the earliest, because shop drawing reviews and equipment deliveries would be hold things up there.
Yeah, the contractor's involved in the shop drawing review.
Or he's involved with the shop drawings and
Okay.
those.
John, do we expect completion, I know this is a very difficult question to answer, but in conjunction with the Bam Hollow project, do you think it will be done first?
Yes.
Okay.
I think the pump station will be done first, because they have not indicated, I think the time frame that they asked for was a year in April,
Right.
2015.
They have to go for permits and all that stuff too.
I'll get to that, that's already been approved.
Oh, the DEP permits?
We received that today or yesterday.
Okay.
We're
Just so-
both there, on-site work as well as the force main work,
Okay.
so.
I assume that we would have to be ready before they came in.
Well, just so the board remembers, we put provisions in our agreement with them that if for whatever unforeseen reason, we weren't done, and that there was a overcapacity situation, that they would be responsible for any measures we would have to take to alleviate any excess capacity. In other words, if we had to go in and pump out, truck out, or whatever,
Yeah.
they would be
Or
responsible.
wouldn't they just hold off closing?
We tried to predict the worst-case scenario.
Okay.
That's
So-
independent from the pump station. though.
It
The
is,
pump station doesn't have to be upgraded
to handle that.
Okay.
But if worst-case scenario, they had a full build-out by the time we got done, we were covered.
Okay.
Yeah, but considering we're only gonna take about 9 months,
Right.
they're probably not even gonna put a spade in the ground by then.
You got it.
Right. Well, you know, they claimed that they were, but I don't think things
I
are.
don't
That's his name.
I don't think we have a problem
I
there.
don't
Maybe
think
we'll
we
have
do
a
either.
cold, wet spring.
Well, it's more than that, it's, they gotta get their ducks in a row too.
You got it.
If anybody has any other questions?
I don't. Anyone else?
What else is that?
Emily, Harmony Road?
No.
No?
We've been sending updates on those, letters to them to remind them that they got punch list items and,
Okay.
Are any of these up and running, or are they, the point where they're actually using the system, or?
well, I think Harmony has, I think
Yeah, is
Harmony
it-
Road has.
So, what's their issue?
Phases, right,
I mean, where they,
the development.
yeah, so, what's the deal? I mean, these guys gotta get going.
And Cottage Field as well.
And the Civic Center, I think, is up and running as well.
Yeah.
Confiscate has asked for and that's been approved with regard to the reduction in the bond.
Okay, but, I mean, I anticipate if they're up and running, they gotta be, the punch list gotta be closed out, or should be closed out.
Now, what happens with these is, if you don't close out the punch list until everything in final paving is done, when they're under construction, you can close on a single house or
Okay.
houses. And, you know, you get the okay for that, and we go back in there and make sure no damage was done, that the cleanouts, you know, had the proper protection.
But that's done multiple times.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Anybody else? No? Okay, moving along.
Okay, next is the director's report. Safety, there were no lost time accidents during the month of December. Regulatory all operations were conducted within permit guidelines during December. The financial, basically through November, if you look at the year-to-dates, we're a little bit, about 3% under on revenue. We're about 2% under on expenses, so we're kind of closed the year and kind of tight.
Ray, do we have any thing we can attribute to 3% on revenue? Shortfall? What contributed to that? Because revenue to us is basically a steady stream.
Yeah, no, we had those homes that we didn't charge for a year, but that didn't make a dent.
Right.
I can't really think of anything right now, but I have to just look at the numbers again, but.
Okay, could we
Nothing
figure out why
comes
we're 3%? Then, you
What
know,
about the Sandy, did we forgive some of the?
Yeah, but that was
Yeah,
just
that's what
mentioned.
you're talking
about.
didn't mind, I didn't amount to anything,
Yeah.
but very low.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
So, you know, 3% is 3%, and
Well,
that's,
Were you
See.
also figuring in more closings, more people coming online?
that could be connection fees.
Yeah, I think actually, this is actually was Pat's last budget, and so kind of just comparing what he projected to what really came
Yeah,
in.
I'm thinking
Yeah.
some of those were connection fees,
Could have been,
because it was a light year last year.
yeah.
That's what I thought was the
Yeah.
in the
No,
connection
I
fees.
think there is an answer, I'm kind of going blank on it.
Yeah,
I
we're
know-
kind of a
Yeah.
flat, the revenue is kind of flat. We know, it's
We also-
basically
Yeah, also,
monthly,
Yeah.
quarterly.
yeah, one of the numbers, it's been tracking that way the whole year, and I think we just got the check from the lien sale, that's like a $95,000
Yeah.
check. So that, hopefully that'll help us a little bit. I know for the whole year we've been tracking just under each month.
It'd be nice to try to understand that, because
Yes.
if we have an understanding, then we probably in the next budget, and if it's legitimate, we can take that into account.
Yeah. Okay, the volume treated during the month of December was 5.02 million gallons a day, which is a little bit higher, so a little wetter time. Let's see, we received one additional check from FEMA for $8,000, so far we've received $69,000 from FEMA and $247,000 from the JIP. Now, we've been going over these numbers a lot, and they basically, the first, we put in 10 project worksheets to FEMA, and the first 9 really were worth about $550,000. And what we got from that was, I think when you put the numbers together, it's $325,000, which is actually 60%. So we got about 60% of the first
Well, wait a
nine.
minute,
Yeah.
the big lump we got in was JIP money,
Yeah, but it was still.
but that doesn't go to FEMA, does it?
No, but it was still on a project worksheet.
Oh, okay.
It started out as a project worksheet. So that basically was and they're pretty much considered done. Okay, we've contested them and this and that, but I don't think anything's gonna come back. The second piece of it is, the last project worksheet is actually worth about $450,000. And we've been talking to them about that. They're just starting that. So, of the 450 so far, we've gotten 0 back, on that, but it's in the works. The third category is the hazard mitigation program, which is worth $444,000. And that one hasn't been released yet either. That's all hung up too. So then, when you pass those three things back, and they're all aimed at, restoring the plant, getting the plant back to where it was, and then you kind of cross over. Immediately after the hurricane, we were asked to produce what they call letters of intent, and it was just kind of a real quick thing. What do you think you'll need, just to get us on the list? And the three projects that we asked for were, we asked for $500,000 for a new generator. We asked for $1 million to flood-proof the pump stations. And then the third one was the $4 million for the cogen facility. Now, we didn't hear anything on any of them for months. And then all of a sudden, we got a call, on November afternoon, we got a call that we were eligible for $159,000 of that first $500,000 that we asked for. And at this point, we believe that it's targeted for a new generator, but we're trying to determine how loose they are with that. Now, the second thing we got was a call telling us that of the $1 million that we asked to address the pump stations, we were going to be eligible for $1 million. So basically, at that point, we tried to put some flesh on the project and basically picked out how we would progress through the system if we had that amount of money. So we did that, Brian did that, we submitted it back to, it was either the county or the state who asked for that. So that basically is on the books, and then we haven't heard anything about the cogen yet. But the state is going according to those letters of intent that we had written. It could have been as soon as November or December after the storm.
We jumped at that one.
We jumped, yeah.
The $159,000 or $100,000.
Yeah.
What's the process of figuring out how we can apply that?
Well,
Because we obviously can't buy a generator.
right, that money actually is coming through the grant. I don't know what word you want to use, I'll call it a grant. The grant was basically made to the township
Right.
for three different departments. We were considered one of them. The Board of Education and,
Township.
I think the fire department.
There's
Fire
three
department.
fire companies in the first aid squad.
Yeah, so basically, we were told to tell them exactly what we wanted and how, what we would do with the money that they gave us.
So
And-
what do we say?
Well, we basically explained that we were looking at raising our generator building, that we were considering a new generator, or maybe keep the old generator, that we were going to get a new fuel tank in
Right, right,
conjunction with, I put the whole story together and put it in there. And that explanation was due tomorrow. So basically,
Okay.
we responded, and it's going back.
So we're putting in a return explanation that basically is the flexibility we're looking for.
Yeah, yeah,
Okay, so we can apply this money in a more,
yeah.
I would say more efficient manner, because a
Yeah.
$159,000 generator is ludicrous.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, but that's not even $159,000 just to us, isn't that?
No, that's too much, that's
Oh,
too much.
just to
That's our
us?
part.
That doesn't count?
That's our allocation, if you want to call it that.
Well,
Yeah, $500,000 basically got split up,
oh, okay,
and this was part of that.
okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Well, just to camp on to that, I had spoken to Ray about putting in a new generator, our generator, the one that we have that's 29 years old. And Ray, thank you very much, went to Cooper, and Cooper just came up with this report, which I'm just eyeing now as we're meeting. My concerns with the current generator is it's 29 years old. How difficult is it going to be to get parts when we need them immediately, or will they have to go through some kind of search and us be without a generator for X period of time? So that's something that we all have to look at and decide, do we really need to replace this generator, or will our 29-year-old generator suffice? But I guess we need to read their report.
Yeah,
Right.
the short answer to that is I spoke to the local, the dealer for the generator manufacturer that we do business with. The parts are out there currently, there's no guarantee of how long they're gonna be available. the parts are used on multiple units, not just the unit
Mhm.
that we have here at the authority. I said, well, the parts generally available 40, 50 years, and he said, well, some parts, obviously there's no guarantee, and there's no crystal ball to see what's gonna happen in the future.
Is that a Foley Caterpillar?
Yeah, fully.
Oh, they're almost forever.
Almost, but
They're like John Deere, same issue.
if we need a part and we can't get it,
You're in Caterpillar land. The Caterpillar land is, they deal with this all day long.
well, I personally would like to look at this
Yeah.
report a little
But,
bit
yeah,
more
we gotta
closely.
read.
What we were talking about too with this, with regard to the bid, raising this up, new generator, existing generator, was to put it out there, because the building would be the same either way,
Mhm.
and bid the new generator as an alternate.
Yeah.
And if you chose at the time, because of priorities, not to do it right now, it doesn't preclude us from raising the existing rock and in 5 years, replacing it.
No question about it.
But does it pay to raise this current one up, go through the transfer switch and all the time and energy doing that, if the generator in a couple of years is going to be replaced? We can
Yes.
save,
Oh, yeah.
And answer to your question.
it's still, how much, the
Because everything
generator's
else
what,
is-
half a mil?
Half a mil. I don't look.
I didn't look into the cost.
Yeah,
probably half a
I would imagine the generator, you can just unplug
It's a
the
plug
old
in.
one and put it.
It's a
the new
plug,
one in.
basically.
There's no, you don't have to go through the
No, it's a
transfer
plug,
switch.
you want a 180 volt plug.
You might
That's
get
all it
scrap
is.
value too for the existing.
Well, I thought maybe we should just sell it to McCullough.
They wouldn't know what to do with it.
You start telling them 29 years old, you're not gonna get much out of it, so.
Well, but if it's working so
It's a hell of
well,
working
and
better
it
than their
doesn't work,
stuff.
I'd rather have
If
ours
it's
sitting
working, they're
there.
gonna tell you to keep it.
Yeah, but at least then we know that the next rain.
Yeah, but they won't know what to do with it.
Well, we'll send our guys down there and hook them up.
Anyway.
Well, that was just my thoughts, guys. Okay, moving right along, Ray.
Okay. Let's see, the capital projects, the Sandy work is proceeding according to the priority list. I guess we're probably at the point where we're really looking into the flood barriers just right now, and then I think we'd like to get that pump station wireless program going. So,
Say that again.
the wireless, the pump station converter.
Oh, the skater.
Yeah, from the lease lines to the.
Right,
wireless.
exactly, because their lease lines are only going up
Yeah,
quickly, because they're basically copper and
yeah,
Verizon's getting out of the copper business.
yeah. So we basically, we can get that, the engineering part of that project is 50,000 to start it, so we can get started with that one. Let's see, service calls, number of service calls was 37, 10 blockages.
Can we go back a minute?
Yeah.
The paragraph that you talk about George's computer being hacked.
Okay.
I hate to say it, but that's erroneous.
Oh,
Yes, my computer was never hacked.
okay, so tell us what happened.
What happened was our email server was compromised,
Oh, okay.
and our web host recognized that and shut our outgoing email down.
How quick was that? Was it, they recognized it and shut it down immediately, or somebody physically had to go and they shut it
No,
down?
pretty much immediate.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
Okay, and then we contacted our contractor,
Yes.
and they went in and dug into it and tried to find it.
I can't say that they tried to find.
What happened was, we identified the email outage. George and I were in conversation about
Okay.
trying to figure out what was happening. It was over Christmas, so the communication with the
Yeah.
customer. The end result of it was that before the outgoing email would be turned back on, they said that all the email passwords had to be changed to something more stringent, something
Right.
harder to guess or
Sure.
to basically make it more difficult for the same thing to happen. So that's what we ended up doing is change.
But did they identify what happened?
Well, they said there were 2 instances where over 1,000 emails were sent from George's email account in a 1 hour period.
Right, so, okay, so his computer was
Okay.
spamming.
No,
That's-
no,
email.
his
His
account.
email-
It's on
his
server.
email
Yeah,
was
account was
spamming,
spam.
so they realized to shut it down.
They shut down everybody with a Township and
Our-
.com.
Our computers were never infiltrated or
Right.
compromised.
It's on the server.
Yeah, the email's hosted somewhere else in the
Yeah.
world.
Yeah.
Okay, how can we protect ourselves from that happening in the future? Should we change email passwords once a month? Should we,
Well, the password that was emailed around, what everybody's email address was changed to is what was recommended by the web host.
Okay.
The email server company.
Okay.
And they didn't have any recommendations to say it should be changed on a regular basis.
Well, what is our
what do we do here?
approach
What's
on it?
our,
What's our approach gonna be?
Well, I think with the email password that we have, it should be pretty difficult
okay,
to get into. If this is reoccurring, then maybe we'll institute passwords expire once a month.
But what if the password, for some reason, gets out? So if you change it monthly or bi-monthly or something, you protect yourself a little better on that. So just in case it did get out, it's gonna be changed anyway.
yeah, some companies recommend that.
Periodic.
I know my daughter's company, they have to change their email monthly. Okay, most firms, you change your email monthly, so that no matter how hard it is, if you're ABC 123, and that's supposed to be good, which I know it's not, but just saying, then you go 124 ABC, and then the next month 12 whatever.
Yeah.
But monthly, they really should be changed, is from what I've been gathering from other
Yeah, if that's,
institutions.
if you want to put that level of protection together, what might be easiest is we come up with passwords for the next 12 months, hand out the sheets, and then depending on whatever month you're trying to log your email into, that's going to be the password.
No. You come out like 7 days before the end of the month with the password for the coming month.
Right, so everyone knows.
You don't put out a sheet for the coming year. I mean, that's just jumping into the
Makes it
fire.
easier on everybody
No,
else.
Well,
that's not secure.
I'm
Okay.
thinking, everyone in the Thompson will know, your email's going to be changed on whatever day you
Like
choose.
password.
Your password is going to be
Change, and they
changed,
get a message telling them.
and telling
Yeah.
them, you're
Do they?
going to change these monthly,
Yeah.
and 5 days before, whatever you choose, is a new email will be assigned.
Yeah.
And then,
New password and stuff.
I'm sorry, I keep saying email, I mean password, the new password will be assigned, and then a couple of days before, you give out the new password.
Just as long as everybody checks their email before the password changes, because once the
Well,
password changes.
well,
Then you just have to call in.
one business week should be fine.
Okay, that's, just as long as.
But they
everybody's on the same
gotta be
page.
reminded, otherwise they're gonna be getting all kinds of grief.
That can be done.
Can I jump in here on that?
Sure,
How are you going to send out the new password?
well, we're
You're
not
not
gonna,
going to send it out by email, are
Hand
you?
delivered.
no, it will be hand delivered on a piece of paper that's burned
Can
and
they
buried.
include it in the
No,
agenda?
do they let them come into the office, see what it is, then you cannot lift that piece of paper out of the office, number one. Number two, I think many of us have had experiences of being hacked. The first thing you do, obviously, is change your password. What was the date of this hacking, this spamming?
Sometime in December.
It was.
Did anybody
the
get a
Friday
copy
before
of what the
Christmas.
spamming
That
was
was
being
November.
sent out?
Somewhere around there.
No, it was after Christmas.
Early to mid-December.
It was approximately the 19th, and we did not get anything, any of the spam
You don't
emails
get
or
a notice,
anything.
all of a sudden you try and send an email and it
Yeah,
just
that's
goes
the only
up,
reason,
and that's how you know.
right, that's the only
So
reason.
you won't see that.
No, you don't even see that.
George sends out a blast. That's what George did. He didn't know it, but
I
he
didn't
did.
know it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but what
his
happened-
account sent out a blast.
Okay, what happened with me was, I could not send an email, and then all of a sudden, everyone started sending me emails
That's
saying,
right.
did you send me this email?
Different type.
Oh, it was a different type.
Right.
But just keep in mind that this event, although it happened, it's unfortunate, our web host should have, told us we had an issue,
That's right.
okay? Because Brian and I, every day, we put in a service request, and they come back saying problem resolved. So I go and check it, no, not resolved. Went on for a week.
Oh, a whole week?
It went on for just
Well,
about a week.
who runs this service?
It's web.com.
And how do we contract with
Madam
these
Chairman,
guys?
I'm getting a little nervous about discussing the security measures of Thompson's website and email in public.
Okay.
I think if this conversation were to continue in executive session, properly so, I would feel a little more comfortable.
Okay, we will shut down this
This
conversation.
is general
and move
stuff,
it
but that's like.
to
I
an-
understand, I just, it's, again, we're talking about the security of a homeland secured, you know, this agency is governed by Homeland Security, and I don't want to step over those bounds.
Okay, all right, so scrap everything you just said, and we will.
You heard nothing.
Okay,
Move on.
Okay,
thank
let's see,
you.
we've responded, we've sent comments to Mazer for both of those pump station and emergency generator reports. We've performed 11 sewer lateral dig-ups now with rock solid construction. The Fairview wet well was cleaned at the end of December. It took 4 days. Now we're gonna go to every 6-month cleaning. But, yeah, it was so full of debris that one of the pumps just was completely clogged, you know, when it tried to run.
How about our other pump stations?
The other pump stations?
Why are they not?
Well, the other pump stations were actually able to pump them down and empty them. Actually, we have a program that we go around and empty each of the wet wells, but Fairview is 3 stories down, so Fairview is just a whole nother animal.
Biggie.
Yeah, and
Okay.
the other stations were able to get them from the top of the ground, you know.
Okay.
Let's see. We're just about to begin that January project we do every year with Oswald. We go out and clean the lines with grease. They identified about 15 different stretches that they want done, and this is our first year with the contract, so that should be good. We're locating manholes in Basin 7. Let's see, no new subdivisions, 14.8 new connection fees in December. That was all from one project. Let's see, Brian attended pre-construction meeting for the Middletown Road reconstruction project. Let's see, at the end, I included a write-up on PuroClean. Basically, when they did come, and they did the work for us, so.
Who's that?
That's in there. PuroClean is a cleaning company that, they're a competitor of Service Master who we use, and basically they wanted the opportunity to perform for us, and they did, and basically this was our feeling when they were finished. Okay. Okay, next is the construction fund. There's a lot more numbers on this time. I tried to put it on both ways. Okay, looking at design and committed cost versus design committed and construction costs. So again, if we take the cogen out of this, the numbers aren't that bad. But once you put the cogen in, you drop pretty quick. The Emery Drive number is a real number because that project was bid. The aerial pipe crossing, the sludge dewatering building, and the cogen, they're all estimates still at this time.
So do we think
Well,
they will?
we spent like amount, and we estimate the project to be, but we haven't committed that money for the project.
Right.
But we now, at least now see in front of us what potentially we're looking at.
Right.
And that's the whole idea of that.
Yeah.
Right. Do you think these numbers are real, or do you think they're going higher?
I think they're going higher, yeah.
Okay.
That's what we're doing.
Okay, the budget is basically, it's at 11/12 of the budget, so it's right on, so we'll have to see where the rest of the month brings us for this month. Next is Brian's report.
Brian, thank you very much for 5.
Oh, yeah, no problem. Who?
The font, remember I asked him to raise the font, last month it was like font of
Oh, us
two.
old people can't see such not 8 lettering or something like that?
I
Speak for
bumped it up a
yourself.
little
You
bit.
bumped it up, okay, to 12. 12 is the standard.
13,
13, well,
That's
we get
not
the credit
13,
on this
is
one.
it?
Lucky number.
12.75.
Is it really?
I-
Whatever.
It's somewhere.
Speak for yourself as old people.
So like Ray was talking about, we got a call from Monmouth County offering $1 million or telling us about the eligibility for $1 million in grant funds. It ends up being $900,000 of state, federal money with $100,000 coming from.
This is over and above everything we have in the pipe.
Yeah, outside of FEMA with the PW worksheets
And the grant money potential for the
for
coach.
the cooking, yeah.
So this is another bundle.
Yeah,
Good man, go there, get it.
yeah, so, so the scope of work was limited to raising pump station equipment above the new floodplain elevations and converting natural generators that we have out there that currently use propane to natural gas. So we put a scope of work together, a proposed scope of work together of these 6 projects. And we submitted just over $2 million worth of work with the anticipation of we'll spend the money, as much money as they give us, to do as much as we can on this list. We don't want to shortchange ourselves.
Does this list indicate the priority?
Yeah.
So F is probably something that won't be done.
Most likely, no, unless the state or FEMA comes
Comes
in
up
and
with more.
strikes the projects preceding it from the list.
Oh, okay.
There'll be, from what I've been told, there'll be, there's going to be a criteria to determine which projects are more critical. They're looking for the biggest bang for the buck, so if they can impact, if they have a project that can impact 10,000 people for $10,000 versus a project that impacts 1,000 people for $10 million, they're going to choose the, obviously, more cost-effective one. So that's the main reason we submitted.
Now, before we talked about money becoming available for MA Drive and the pump station money, is that the same thing that this is, or this is additional money?
No, this is the same money that Ray was.
Okay, good, now, because I heard this before,
Yeah.
some of this.
Yeah.
So we actually have a meeting with the county and the township to discuss filling out the grant application for the state and FEMA's review in early February.
Emphasize the need for $2 million.
Oh, yeah, of course.
Definitely.
But just to note, there's $7.6 million of grant money that they have, and there was something like either $2 or $7 billion worth of projects that were submitted to them. So
But we need 2.
yeah, so we've got, it's kind of elite company considering the amount of money that
We have
was
a use-
submitted
we have a
and how
use.
much they gave us, so, or quote.
Okay.
But, moving on, we keep on talking with FEMA and trying to keep the wheels greased with them. Like Ray said, we got the check for just over $8,100. We were just submitting our backup documentation to validate the cost. This is kind of getting ahead of the game and getting ahead of the FEMA audits that may be occurring in the future.
We identified what, the 8136D.81 is for?
Yes, that one
Whoopee.
was for, that was, I forget the scope of work on that. Do you remember that? I can tell you what PW was.
But is that, yeah, but that, okay, so it's to a PW, but that covers a particular total task.
Yeah, off the top of my head, I don't remember.
Oh, yeah. So they go down on PWs and they reimburse per PW.
Yeah.
That's where that all comes.
Yeah, the check.
And whatever's under there.
Specific,
So they don't give partial or anything.
No, they get partial pay.
Oh, so they'll tell you, your PW is for, I can say, 11.5, we want to give you $8,100.
Yeah, and then that $8,100 might come in of $3,000, $5,100. So,
10 years from now.
Career.
yeah, separated out, it all depends on, yeah.
I get it, we get it.
Yeah, we get the idea.
Uh,
They don't, but we do.
The Baser has prepared a pump station susceptibility to flooding evaluation. Reviewed it and sent comments back to them, the revised report. Just got to take a look at it and make sure that the revisions were made and that report should be finalized. There's a second report for the emergency generator and bypass, the pump stations. Gathered comments and just waiting for some more information to be gathered in-house. On the existing system. We provide all the comments. As part of the yearly air permit for the digester, flare, the digester gas sample was taken and tested. We received the results, looked through them, and sent them on to the state. We don't anticipate any issues. We made a lot of updates to the system element manual, trying to digitize it and make it easier to go through it, to see the information that we have, the information that we send to actually. And then of course there's the IT related tasks. We're in the process of purchasing an AutoCAD license, so it's computer design, it's a program to make plans, drawings. The outbound email service we just discussed. And we're looking into upgrades to the payroll system, the payroll provider ADP.
Okay, very good.
Okay, last item is storage report.
One of the things I forgot to mention in this report is our physical inventory. We're just about done. We got a late start.
Say it again?
Physical inventory.
Physical and, stuff.
Stop.
Oh,
Stop.
We got a two tools back? Yeah, you know the trouble. That's good.
But other than that, unless there's any other questions, I don't have anything to add.
That's, we know that. So,
Self-explanatory.
Okay, next item is public comments.
Linda Baum, 19 May Court. Yeah, a few comments. First one, I'm just going to repeat what I've said before about the blower. That really needs to be addressed. Mr. Richmond, I couldn't really hear the second part of, once that went on, I really couldn't hear what you were saying. It's a public meeting, I should be able to hear what you're saying. So there's a few ways you can address that. I won't repeat them. I've given you 4 or 5 different ways in the past. Next issue, regarding the discussion of IT, email problems, the webmaster. That was pretty much all general discussion. And Mr. Leahy, you stood up and said we're going to discuss that in executive session. Well, there are 4 specific categories for which an executive session can be held. And discussion of your email and your web browser, your webmaster is not one of those reasons. That's not really an appropriate reason to have an executive session. It should have been discussed in public. Would you like to advise me which one of those categories that falls under? Personnel matters, contracts, litigation, land acquisitions? I could be forgetting something, but those are 4 of the general ones.
Would you like me to recite the law, the 8 exceptions, 8 separate exceptions to the Public Meetings Act? I will, but I don't think I want to take up the board's time. That the security and safety of this authority and agency
Yeah, you're discussing
is an exception.
your website and your email. You weren't discussing really any specifics.
Section.
Okay, well, I'll check into that, but I didn't really see that being an issue as far as a problem being discussed in public. The other issue has to do with, I had put in a request for executive session minutes, well, public and executive session minutes. And for the last 2 years, basically, November 2011 through November 2013, and I got the public session minutes, but not the executive session minutes, and I was told that they were, quote, not approved for release. Well, that really has no meaning. They're either approved or they're not approved. So does that mean that they're not approved, that they exist, but they're not for the meetings for which there was an executive session but not approved? Or don't exist? Or are not being released?
Minutes for all meetings conducted by this board are kept pursuant to the law.
Okay, so let's talk about the law then for a minute. With executive session minutes, you can discuss them in executive session, which you do. You have that listed as typically under your executive session. But they are required to be approved in public session. So if you go look at what they're doing over at the Township, all approvals for minutes, and it specifically lists public or executive session, is done during a public session. That's the law. And you have a reasonable amount of time in which to approve your executive session minutes and public session minutes. Typically, that's determined as about 30 to 60 days. Certainly not a year, certainly not 2 years. That puts you in violation of the Open Public Meetings Act if those have not been adopted. So my question to you is, have they been adopted? What does it mean when you say to me, not approved for release? Does that mean you don't want to give them to me, or they haven't been adopted yet?
All minutes for all portions of the meeting are kept pursuant to
Ms.
the
Bao?
law.
You're the chairwoman. Have they been adopted?
I think you were hearing the attorney give out.
I actually can't hear him all that well. He's mumbling. Mr. Leahy, can you speak up?
All minutes are kept and approved pursuant to the law.
Have they been adopted? Your executive session minutes from 2 years ago, have they been adopted? It's a very straightforward question. It's a yes or no question.
We provided an answer.
Yes, Ms. Bao? Was a vote taken? Were they adopted?
And-
There's a pursuant to the law says you are required to adopt them in public session. Your public session, your agenda says, never says public session, it never says executive session. It says minutes of regular meeting. The whole regular meeting or part of it? So what does that mean when it says you've adopted your minutes of the regular meeting? What does that refer to? Executive and public?
And all minutes kept by this board.
All right, so then they've been adopted? So then I will receive them then? Mr. Niersted?
I think you.
Ma'am, your 5 minutes are up, and thank you for your comments.
Will I be receiving them?
I think you heard Mr. Ray. And
I actually didn't hear anything. I didn't get a direct response.
well, I think what he said was your 5 minutes are up. That was the first thing. The second thing, I hear a response from him.
That it's all been done in accordance with the law. But actually, I'm telling you that you're supposed to adopt them during public session. I've gone back and looked at the minutes for the last 2 years, your public sessions, and there's no adoption of executive session minutes specifically listed. Now, I'm asking you if they've been adopted, and you're not responding.
Thank you for your comments, ma'am. I believe there's someone else here from the public who wishes to make a comment. That'd be Dr. Sorensen, who the board has met with before. I believe he has some information regarding the progress of the dissolution of the Atlantic Highlands Highlands Regional Sewerage Authority.
Yes, Arthur Sorensen, I'm attorney for both Highlands and Atlantic Highlands regarding...
Welcome back again.
It's good to be back here. Anyway, I'm attorney for both the Highlands and Atlantic Highlands regarding the dissolution of the Atlantic Highlands Highlands Regional Sewerage Authority, which is unpronounceable. You have a name which is pronounceable, which is much better. I'm happy to report that the local finance board approved of the dissolution on January 15th. Prior to that date, each of the boroughs had had a special meeting, and at that special meeting introduced both the dissolution ordinance and bond ordinances. They're parallel ordinances. The towns are absorbing the debt of the authority. And there's also a resolution which is also necessary. The next step is for each of the towns to adopt the ordinances. One of the towns meets on the 5th of February, the other one on the 12th, and coalition bridge. I anticipate that each town will adopt those ordinances. Then the bond council has recommended a 20-day waiting period, and the ordinances provide for a dissolution at 11:59 p.m. The evening of March 31st. I'm advised that the ball will drop at Times Square.
Can we attend?
Sometime, therefore, in the near future, we have an existing service contract, which is just going forward. Each town has its own standalone system with its own standalone metering, so that the billing can go forth as it has before. There'll be 2 bills instead of 1, so the marginal cost to Township will be 46 cents per month, the postage, unless you go over. But each of the towns is anxious to have a service agreement in place by the time of the dissolution.
Okay.
Thank you, Mrs. Thompson.
Yeah.
Good, thank you very much for.
Thank you, and please remember, we will not shut off your pipe.
Where it is necessary and proper for the board to enter into a private session, the exclusion of the public pursuant to NJSA 10:4-12 to discuss matters of personnel employment pursuant to subsection 8 of the statute, and contract negotiation pursuant to subsection 7 of the statute. The minutes of these meetings will be disclosed when the board has determined that the need for confidentiality no longer exists. Therefore, I'm asking for the board for a motion to move into executive session.
Motion, please.
I move.
Okay, Tom moves
Second.
it. Do I have a second? Charlie and Emil seconded it. Thank you. Okay, so should we take a 5-minute break?
Take a break,
while
Please,
we're-
thank you.
A work break.
Good night, all.
Take care, George.
Thank you.